Prime Ministers Tangilangi and Luxon signed political declaration at the inaugural annual leaders meeting. Turkey will host COP31, but the Pacific will host global leaders in the lead-up to the conference. And the wild pig hunting program shows great results. 9 years later, we spoke to Glenn Osborne, who is back on the island. Good evening, whakalahiatu, and welcome to tonight's bulletin of BCN News. A special welcome to our friends from across the Pacific, thanks to Pacifica TV. Leading the news tonight, New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and Prime Minister Dalton Tangilangi met in Auckland last week at the inaugural annual leaders meeting. The meeting established the first enduring political declaration, celebrating the relationship of free association and setting out the responsibilities to each other, as well as shared goals. A press statement from the office of the New Zealand Prime Minister said that the political declaration reaffirms that Niue is part of the realm of New Zealand and one of New Zealand's closest partners in the Pacific. Here's the story. The discussions between the two leaders included Pacific regionalism, national security and defence, climate and economic priorities, and social and governance issues. The political declaration contains 17 key points, affirming the unique partnership between the two countries and recalling the historic bond of kinship and enduring social, cultural and economic ties between the peoples of Niue and New Zealand. The two prime ministers agreed that New Zealand and Niue reaffirm their commitment to upholding democratic principles, the purpose and principles of the United Nations Charter, rule of law and respect for human rights. One of the points of the declaration states that Niue pursues its foreign policy in accordance with the interests of its people, consistently with its enduring alignment with New Zealand's fundamental interests and its responsibilities within the realm. Insofar as cooperation and communication, the two leaders agree the relationship of free association is a partnership based on trust and open communication. Regular, structured dialogue will be held between officials, foreign ministers, and annually between prime ministers to ensure alignment of fundamental interests. The meeting between the two leaders is the first of what will be an annual leaders meeting between the Prime Minister of Niue and the Prime Minister of New Zealand. There was no response to BCN News' request for comment from Prime Minister Dalton Tangilangi, who returned to the island on Monday. COP31 will be held in Turkey next year. The decision was reached at COP30 yesterday in Belém in Brazil. As the conference draws to a close, a deal was struck between Turkey and Australia that Australia's Minister for Climate Change, Chris Bowen, will be COP president, and that the Pacific will host a climate meeting with global leaders next year in the lead-up to the main conference, COP31, in November. Prime Minister Dalton Tangilangi, in a statement to BCN News today, commended the spirit of negotiations that ensured the region remains engaged in the lead-up to COP31 and that Niue will continue to advocate for Pacific priorities and secure meaningful outcomes on climate action. Prime Minister Tangilangi, who is also the Minister of Climate Change, in a statement to BCN News says that Niue acknowledged the announcement that COP31 will be hosted in Turkey next year following a compromise between Turkey and Australia. He says that while Australia's bid had strong backing from the region and from Niue, this outcome is preferable to an alternative of reverting to Bonn, Germany, which would not have served Pacific interests. The Prime Minister continues saying that he commended the spirit of negotiation that ensured our region remains engaged in the lead-up to COP31 and through the pre-COP process. He says Niue will continue to work with partners to advocate for Pacific priorities and secure meaningful outcomes on climate action. Australia's media yesterday, ABC Pacific, reported that after lengthy negotiations, a deal was made that Australia's Minister of Climate Change, Chris Bowen, would assume the role of COP president, which is a key role in climate negotiations. Radio New Zealand Pacific reported also that the decision to concede hosting to Turkey was to ensure that the COP31 would not be held in Bonn, Germany, because this will mean that there will be no COP president for the year. Radio New Zealand Pacific reported Pacific leaders are disappointed that Australia lost the bid to host COP31. Meanwhile, at the COP30 conference, as it draws to a close, a large fire at the main venue forced the evacuation of delegates yesterday. Footage here captured by Pacific journalist Lisa Williams shows the fire and the attempts to put this fire out. COP30 will end this week on the 21st in Belém in Brazil. The heavy downpour on Tuesday morning forced the early closure of Niue High School due to flooding inside the classrooms and the school grounds. The deputy principal of the school, Moira Jackson, informed via social media that the school will close at 11 a.m. due to the unsafe conditions for the students. The heavy downpour flooded the school grounds and between the school buildings. There was flooding also inside the classrooms of the science block. BCN cameras captured the flooding inside the science block classrooms and teachers trying to sweep the water out as students waded through knee-high waters on their way to catch the bus home. A New Zealand-based consultancy called Elemental Group has been awarded a program by the Asian Development Bank to work with the Niue government and with specifically with the Niue Power Corporation on a clean and resilient energy development support program. Part of the program is to develop a capacity building and training model to build a sustainable and well-trained workforce for the energy sector on the island. Since May last year, the team from Elemental Group has been to Niue several times working on key aspects of the program, including asset management, business operations and revenue forecasting, gender and inclusivity, and capacity building and training in country, which is where the Professional Development Internship Program comes under. BCN News spoke with Dr. Kate Bromfield, who is the International Internship Training Specialist for this project.
We proposed to NPC that what we would do for them is build an internship program where we would start to try and create a pipeline of skilled people to support the growth of the energy sector in the long term. And to do that, we partnered with the University of Auckland to create what amounts to a bit of an energy boot camp. So we have a program under development. This year is our pilot program, where we're looking for 5 Niuean graduates to join our internship program. And the idea of the program is that they'll do 2 months of internship with NPC here in Niue, and then they'll do 2 weeks of energy boot camp back in Auckland at the university in February. Why do I think people will want to join the program? So it's going to be a really great experience and part of our longer term vision. So this year is just for Niuean students. It's just for these 5, and that's exciting. But in the future, this will be open up to all of the Pacific Island utilities. So what I want to build this year is that beginning of a cohort of people who then support all the Pacific Islanders to grow a clean and resilient energy sector into the future. So I imagine that you'll have these 5 people coming through this year. Next year, some of them will come and be part of the program and say, this is what I learned and this is what I got from it. And that will happen each year as students start to develop this long-term cross the Pacific cohort of people all trying to create a clean energy future.
The Niue Clean and Resilient Energy Development Support Program is a year-long project funded by the Asian Development Bank.
So the idea of this program is to look at what the energy sector looks like over the next 30 years or long time frames and say, how do we build a resilient sector that gives Niue access to clean energy and empowers you to have that sort of ongoing program far into the future and to meet your emissions reduction targets. So my team at Elemental Group have been coming in and out of Niue since May when the contract started, looking at a range of different aspects. So we've got somebody working on asset management. So they're working really closely with NPC on what are your energy assets that you already have here in Niue and what's their life cycle. We're putting together an asset maintenance schedule so that you can start looking at what your operation and maintenance ongoing commitments are and when you might have things coming online and when you might have things going offline. So that's one aspect. I've got someone in the team who's working on the business operations, so trying to look at all of the revenue forecasting and making that aspect as efficient as possible.
Starting on Monday next week, the Department of Health will run a rheumatic heart disease screening program for the 2 schools. The screening will run for the whole week for students aged 10 to 15 years old. A notice from the Public Health Division says that early detection means early treatment and better long-term health outcomes for our young people. The screening assessment with visiting specialists will be done at the health clinic located at Niue High School for both the primary school and high school. Parents are asked to sign the consent forms allowing their children to be assessed for rheumatic heart disease. Rheumatic heart disease is a significant health problem in the Pacific, with high prevalence rates, particularly among Pacific and Maori populations in New Zealand and in the Pacific Islands. It is caused by an untreated strep throat infection, leading to rheumatic fever, which can then cause long-term heart valve damage. For more information about the rheumatic heart disease screening for the schools, contact the health department. 90 passengers arrived on the island on Monday evening. Air New Zealand flight landed just before 6 p.m, but it took almost 2 hours, if not 2 hours, for some of the passengers to leave the arrival area. On Tuesday, the Immigration Department issued a public apology for the delays in processing passengers, saying that the delays were due to the upgrade of the border management system, which affected the processing time. The last of the passengers on Monday evening or Monday night came out of the arrival area just before 8 p.m. The airport has been quite busy of the flow of returning students and visiting families and friends arrive for the festive season. The message from the Immigration Department is that they expect operations to return to normal shortly. The weekly flight will return to Fridays until the new year. And to end our bulletin tonight, wild pigs have long been a nuisance for local farmers and families as they dig and damage taro plantations around the island. 9 years ago, the team at the Environment Department, led by Hugget Tongatule, working with professional pig hunter Glenn Osborne from New Zealand, started the pig hunting program. Since then, Hugget's team has caught 550 wild pigs. Here's the story. Glenn Osborne is no stranger to the island as he's been here numerous times since 2016. This time he is back to do another workshop with the local pig hunting community and to bring 2 new dogs for Hugget and his team.
The purpose of this trip is obviously a continuation of our past product that we made here in Niue, and the product means in reference to bringing up very selective dogs, trained dogs to specifically for the feral pig pest control here in Niue. I mean, there's lots of dogs on the island, but none of them that have been trained, I suppose, correctly in terms of utilising them for feral pig pest control. So I brought up another 3. We brought up a number of dogs beforehand. A few have died, and the other one who is quite well known here in Niue through all the pig hunting circles is Awa, and now she's far too old and she's going deaf. So Hugget Tongatule is a good friend of mine. We've become very good friends since we started back in 2016, I believe. He's asked me to see if I can select another 3, bring another 3 of my dogs from New Zealand up here. But I told him he had to come to New Zealand first to look at them. And I took him pig hunting and did some other types of hunting as well while we were in New Zealand, just so he could have a look at the dogs. And when he selected the dogs, I said, these are the 3 we can bring for you.
We asked Glenn about the situation with the wild pigs now and what they found hunting over the past few days.
We have been hunting the dogs during the week. They caught some big pigs during the week, especially in the first couple of days. Pigs that are definitely have a tame breed in them, Durox breed, and that kind of means that these pigs that have been caught in the past and even now present, they have a lot of tame breeds in them in terms of Durox, Great White, and those are I suppose it's difficult because they have to, a lot of people are I suppose, not releasing, but letting the pigs out to eat around the house, and then some of them come back to the pen and others don't. Hence the reason there's so many wild pigs out there with the tame breeds, the Durox breeds and the Great White breeds and stuff like that.
While the feral pigs situation may have improved, local farmers and growers are now complaining about chickens being a nuisance, eating their crops in the plantations.
The workshop that I held was specifically for the pig hunting. I'm not a chicken expert, but I do believe I do have the knowledge to be a pig hunting expert with dogs. They said in a very good workshop yesterday, we had about 19 different hunters and people come in, and they talked about the feral pig pest problem, which has dropped considerably, and they've made massive processes and moving forward in containing the pig numbers here in Niue. And they spoke about the chickens. Now, what I said about the pests of these chickens, I deliberately spoke to them about it and said, look, I'm not a chicken expert, but I know if I have chickens running around my house, I don't need the government to come and sort it out for me. I can sort that problem out myself. Go and catch it. There's plenty of traps you can make to catch a chicken. So it's not really a problem. You just need to make some action.
And that is our BCN bulletin for this week. Remember to go to the village of Namakulu to show support on Saturday as they host their annual Village Show Day. But from us here at the BCN News team, good night.